Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Becki Gray and Howard Lee, legislation introduced in the U.S. Congress would repeal the Johnson Amendment that limits political speech by nonprofits and religious organizations. Now, proponents for this elimination say that it muzzles faith leaders and others from speaking freely. Opponents, however, say that if the prohibition is eliminated, so should the nonprofit status of these groups, especially that taxpayers shouldn't be subsidizing. Becki Gray, what do you say about that?
This is one of those, as I look at this, we need to be really careful of unintended consequences. I mean, this just seems to me to be ripe with those. There are many churches across the country now who really kind of push past that Johnson Amendment and are very politically active. You know, doing this, would it equalize everything? Would it, enable or force or give every church, every nonprofit the authority to have a more fair playing field? But there's consequences with that, and if you do that and you take the tax-exempt status away, then there's also really consequences for that too. So it's one of those, and I know that at the national level, I know President Trump has talked about, he is very much in favor of doing this, but I think it's something we need to tread very lightly and be careful. And for me, it's just, it feels like a field of unintended consequences.
But Howard, if we did this, I mean, essentially we would be subsidizing, taxpayers would be subsidizing having these nonprofits and faith groups advocating for particular candidates.
Well, I think what people need to realize is the Johnson Amendment does provide a safe harbor for the institutions as well as the leaders of those institutions. Remove that, and then there is no reason members and other congregants won't start putting pressure on endorsing candidates and really being more active for specific
you're saying
candidates.
There's another side of this this sword.
But see, churches and nonprofits are already involved in politics. I used to work as a probation officer, and I had to work under something called the Hatch Act, which did not allow certain government employees to endorse or engage in politics. And the way you got around it is simply say, I can't tell you who to vote for, but here's who I'm voting for, and you still give the same message. And I think churches now allow themselves to be involved and engaged in political activities. I showed up in churches in the 70s and the 80s when I was campaigning for public office, and you get a chance to make a speech and project yourself. But it doesn't put the pressure on the institution itself. I think if they were to lose that tax-exempt status, it would be a disaster for many of these institutions. So I hope that does not pass. I hope it stays there.
But don't you think that's part of a safeguard for them not to get blatantly involved?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm the husband of a United Methodist pastor, and I can tell you that they are always careful about getting too political from the pulpit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking with a fellow earlier last week, and he said that his parents left the church after the preacher got up and endorsed one candidate and trashed another. They walked out in the middle of what was supposed to be the sermon.
Which under the Johnson Amendment, Becki, they're not supposed to be doing right now.
Right, yeah, at all. And certainly not endorsing candidates and being politically involved with that. And part of it is too is these tax-exempt organizations. What that means is that we as taxpayers really are subsidizing those. And so it gets into that whole question of, do you want your tax money to go to support an organization that would support candidates who you may vehemently oppose?
And then there's another aspect of that, and that is, as a congregant, I am giving money and getting a tax deduction for giving money to this organization, and if I no longer do that or get that, that might have some impact on what kind of money these nonprofits receive.
Again, they're just, just in our conversation, just think of all the unintended consequences that we've brought up just in this brief conversation that we've had. So I think that before any decisions are made, it really needs to be thought through.
So maybe we need to send this tape to Washington.
There you go.
And let them see it up there.
I'm sure it would be persuasive.
Well received, I'm sure. Thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.